He's Peter Gammons, Major League Baseball Network Hall of Fame writer who joins us on the show. Pete, let me start with replay here because, you got some pretty esteemed baseball writers who said, why not pick up that Oakland A's Indians game? And I said, well, where do you draw the line of when you pick up and play a game after a controversial call like we saw?
It hasn't been decided. I mean, obviously, the Pine Tar incident with George Brett was totally different than this call, a missed call. But I do think that this sort of almost belligerence to ignore the replay is just going to further move baseball to a better system of replay. I mean, I know a lot of people have thoughtfully opposed it, but at the same time, you're still dealing with a totally different audience than you did in the 50s and 60s and 70s. I mean, people have so much access to replay, and there's so much question about integrity raised that I think it's important, whether it's, you're paying for your MLB at Bat app or you're getting your package on, on DirecTV, or you're paying $140 for a seat in the ballpark. I think there's more demand for get this thing right. Why can't we get it right? And I think they have to. I think one reason, and I heard the previous caller, which I thought he was really good, but I think that MLB has held off pushing the umpires to immediate press conferences after games in an attempt to alleviate the wars that went on 10 years ago between the umpires union and MLB. And I think that there's been a lot of progress made with Joe Torre and Peter Woodfork and the people in the commissioner's office into building a relationship with the umpires. There are a few that still don't believe it, but at the same time, if they can cooperate together, they'll get a much better product.
But let me follow up on something. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like that Angel Hernandez was not going to overrule that because he doesn't believe replay should be in the game. Am I putting words into your mouth?
Well, that was certainly the impression many of us had. And, I mean, you couldn't rationalize seeing what he was able to see and then say it's a double. I'm sorry, but times there's nothing wrong with saying I'm wrong. Although, what was very strange is that a few years ago, a week after the Jim Joyce Galarraga call of the ruining the perfect game, etc., I was in Cooperstown, and Doug Harvey was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, rightfully so. But there were several umpires there, and they got into a pretty heated discussion with me about Jim Joyce, and because I had said, I think it's great. He admitted he was wrong. I actually thought it was a very complicated call because he juggled the ball. But that being said, and I thought it was great the next day when Jim Leland sent Galarraga out with a lineup card, and there was peace. It didn't carry on, and I got put down by several umpires who said he should never have admitted he was wrong.
No.
You can't do that. And to me, that's ridiculous.
That's part of the problem with these umpires who think they have, total autonomy, and that instead of saying let's get the call right, it's almost as if they would rather be wrong and not admit that It frustrates me, Pete, because
it frustrates me too. I mean, there's nothing wrong. Managers can say they're wrong. Players can say they're wrong. Certainly, we in the media have to say we're wrong often.
Yeah.
But there's no reason that officials, and it doesn't take away from their being good officials.
No, I think, and these guys never have to answer any questions. They're not available to the media, and, that's the frustrating part. We're talking to Peter Gammons, Major League Baseball Network. Speaking of the media, Dan Shaughnessy, with his David Ortiz performance-enhancing drug questions, is he profiling David Ortiz here by saying at his age and the injuries, and he's Dominican, therefore he sort of check off the yes, therefore steroid user?
Well, I have a huge problem trying to the leap of faith on guessing whether someone has used steroids when there has been no test. And in 2003, he was reported to have tested positive for some substance, which the union and Ortiz argued was a GNC product. And, matter of fact, Alex Spear, who really is one of the best baseball writers in the country, was telling me that he did a thing. He did an interview with a friend of his at Harvard Medical School a few years ago, who said that almost all those GNC products in the early, 2002 to 2004, actually did contain steroids of some kind. So, I mean, it's but to say, I mean, I'm not sure, and it was raised by a lot of people yesterday. Where is this profiling of, well, he's Dominican, and there are a lot of players. I mean, there are a lot of players in other countries that have tested positive or have been suspended. Does someone say, well, Barry Bonds went to Sarah High School and Tom Brady went to Sarah High School, and so is there a connection?
Well, do you think, Shaughnessy, is that a fair column that he wrote on Big Papi?
I don't understand what the issue of steroids is with David Ortiz after a half dozen games. But, I mean, I'm not – I had the same problem with some of the questions raised about Jose Bautista 3 years ago when he broke out and started it was a prominent home run hitter, and then it was written in 2 or 3 places that, well, it must be steroids. And I just remember, I mean, I had spent a lot of time with Dale Swaim when he was a coach, and he had managed Bautista in the minor leagues and had talked a lot about how he thought someday he would emerge as a premier player, as did Jim Hickey, who now the Rays pitching coach, who had managed him in the Dominican 2 years. I mean, it's easy to throw those things out, but you can really damage a player, a person, by throwing it out there. And and Ortiz actually had a pretty good line. He said, when I'm not playing well, I'm too old, and when I'm playing well, I must be on steroids.
Yeah. I thought it was profiling. I think it's dangerous territory. Hey, great to talk to you, Pete. We appreciate your opinions.
And by the way, that is right about Saturday Night Live.
Yeah?
Well, why can't it still happen?
Oh, no. You know what? If you're the musical guest, Peter, on Saturday Night Live, then I'll host it.
Okay.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, Dan.
All right, Peter Gammons, Dalai Lama. Yeah, I never brought that up, but there was talk back in the mid-'90s if the Big Show would host Saturday Night Live. Keith and I looked at each other and went, what? Yeah. Who canceled? Wait, what's wrong with this?